Okay, you party campers out there, let's finish this now 4-part series on dealing with porn, facing porn, fighting it, and failing. And the main idea here being that you perfection is not the goal. Having a slip up, it's normal. Okay, we're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to remove the cause for the porn. Okay, the hurt that's inside of us that we're not dealing with. We're trying to grow from the experience. We're trying to use it as an opportunity towards more growth. We are trying to reduce the dependence on it. We're trying to have as many victories as possible. Anybody who's ever fought in a war will tell you that it is impossible to have 0 casualties. It's just not going to happen. But you can choose the way of honor. You can keep going. And so let's wrap this up, okay? First off, you can use your past for blessing or for cursing. It's really up to you. We all have things that happened to us in the past that maybe really hurt, that we weren't prepared for, that we're just kind of trying to stumble forward with. But it's up to you on whether or not to turn bitter or better. It really is up to you. A lot of times people get mad and they say, hey, well, that's just not fair. You're putting too much on me. It's not my fault what happened to me. I didn't deserve that. I didn't say that you deserved it. But it happened regardless of whether or not you deserved it or not. It's completely irrelevant whether you deserved it. Well, it's not fair. It didn't say it was. But you have an opportunity. You can sit, soak, and sour, or you can use it to get better. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, there really is no other option. With that being said, though, do make sure that you give yourself time. It is not something you can just overcome overnight. This is something you're going to have to stumble your way through. So the point when you're dealing with all these things, and when you're dealing with your addictions, be it porn or whatever, or when you're dealing with things like anxiety or whatnot, the point is to never do it again, to never struggle, to never not. The point isn't to never do it again. The point isn't to never struggle. That's not even the point. And the more you try and make that the focus, the more you're going to fail, and the more it's going to irritate you. It's kind of like hitting a nail with a hammer. If the more what you focus on is what you hit. So if you focus on the porn, you're going to end up doing the porn. Oh, I've done a really good job not looking at porn. Surprise, surprise, you're going to look at porn. Oh, all your thought is on porn, you're going to look at porn. All your thought is on not messing up, you're going to mess up. I mean, it's just, don't focus on what not to do. Focus on where you want to go, what you want to do. If you're not wanting to hit your thumb, don't look at your thumb. Instead of focusing on the porn and on that, instead focus on where you want to be. Okay, so maybe you want to have more honor. So you're thinking, okay, I want to do things with honor. And so then it's not just porn. It's it's your lifestyle. You're trying to do things that are honorable. You're not hiding out in your room with the internet. That kind of stuff. The more you focus on it, the more you'll do it. That's just the way that life works. That's the way focus works. That's just the way our brains work. So in a way, don't push this too far, but in a way, the more you focus on trying to overcome porn is the more you're going to be bound to it. In a way. So the point is not to never struggle. Struggle, and times of temptation will come, times of struggle will come. Those things are going to happen, and sometimes you're going to give into it. That's not the point. However, with that being said, never think that you'll be strong enough to never be tempted again. See, the point is not to never struggle, because you'll never be strong enough to never struggle. Oh, I'm so strong that I can just resist it, and I'm so strong that I just overcome it. It's no longer a problem that I deal with. Well, then be prepared to have to deal with it, because that just means that you're blind to your own temptation, and you're just going to open yourself up to more temptation because you think that you're so great. Anytime that you make a decision based off of your pride, how good you're doing, and that kind of stuff, be prepared for a lot of disappointment. Never think that you're going to be strong enough. You never will be. You'll go through fluctuations. However, with that being said, remove the opportunity. Make it where you have porn blockers on every device in your house that can access the internet. Removing opportunity. Make it where you don't have unfettered internet access, where you have something that is, limiting that. Maybe you only have internet access when other people are around. Maybe, you have to have a secret. Maybe you have to have a code and your wife has to put it in or something like that. So, you know what I mean? Try to remove the opportunity. Another thing is get accountability. Sometimes we try to do everything by ourselves because we're an island and I'll figure this out. I don't really need anybody. I can just do it myself. Well, then when you start getting help from people, it changes things and you realize how much you do need help. And accountability makes it where there's just someone helping you go farther and longer. Okay? Heal. We talked about this already to great lengths. Make sure that you're healing. And then put up blocks, things that will maybe not necessarily stop you, but slow you down. Having your computer set up in the main family room, for instance. Having it where you have to keep putting in a password to access the page every time that it loads up a new page. That's very tedious, and it will annoy you and make it where not only will it turn you off of looking at porn, but then it's just too frustrating. But then also it'll make it where you don't look at as many things, and also it will slow you down where you have more of a chance of getting caught. And before you say, well, why would I want to get caught? Everybody secretly wants to get caught. Everybody does. The thing is you will always find a way to do it. You always find a way around any porn blocker you have, any checks you have in place, anything that you have that will either slow you down or prevent you from doing something or from looking. There's always a way around it. If you have your heart set on committing suicide, there's always a way around every single argument, a way around every single, safe check. You can always work around things. If you are making it where you have to face your anxiety, there's always a way to make it where you're hiding from your anxiety instead. If you're trying to stop looking at porn, there's always a way to look at porn without, there always is. There's always a weak point, a weak loop. And you will always find a way to do it. But with that being said, when we put these blocks in place, the point is not to never struggle ever again, to never get around them. The point is you'll do it less often. That in of itself is a victory. It will take you longer to get to it, so you're more likely to not look as many things. That's also a victory. And it won't be as intense of a desire for it. That's also a victory. See, the thing is, a lot of times we don't ask the question, what is a victory in this? How do I know if I've succeeded at my goal? And if the goal is to never look again, you're going to feel like a failure because it is impossible to be perfect, right? Not only that, but it focuses on the wrong thing. You're focusing on what will or will not happen in the future, and that's not really something tangible. It's a never-ending goal. You need little victories, right? So maybe instead of saying, I'll never look at it again, maybe I won't look at it today. But once again, the more you focus on not looking at it today, the more you will want to look at it today. Kind of, getting yourself ensnared, I guess. So you'll always find a way to do it, but the goal here is to do it less often, and it won't be as intense, that kind of stuff. Focus on, instead of saying, I don't want to ever do this again, you don't have to never do it again. Don't think of it like that. Instead, think of it like this. You have to not do it right now. You have to not do it maybe today. Focus on little victories that are actually attainable, and then take steps to ensure that you don't do it. Okay? Getting out of the house. Disconnecting your internet. If you work from the home, only having internet access when your spouse is at home. These are good examples. And then having them take the modem with them would be a good thing. That's why I don't have internet on my phone. I have it's like, I don't know, 1/4 of a gigabyte or something like that. So half the time the phone uses it up in the background. I don't even know that it's doing it. But even if it doesn't, it allows me to pull up the Google map one time to figure out if I get lost. That's pretty much it. You can't really even load a web page. It's just such an insignificant amount. you can't do anything with it. But when you're doing all these things, plan for success. Don't plan for, oh, I'm just going to mess up again. Because then you will mess up again and you won't even try. You'll feel disgruntled and guilty and shame and, unenthusiastic. Plan for success. Look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this. And this is the steps I'm gonna do it. And then when I succeed, this is what I'm gonna do when I succeed. If I go a whole week without this, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna go do this. So make it where you have little goals that you can succeed, things that make you feel better. Plan and get prepared for success. Oh, I'll never be able to go a whole week without looking at porn. Well, then you probably won't. But when you're planning for it, then it probably will happen. And then stick with the plan that you make, your course of action, stick with it, and expect it to work, that kind of stuff. Not that you shouldn't think through before you make plans to, get past a bad idea into a good plan. So at somewhere along this where some people say, look, I'm just really tired and hurt, and I just need that, I need that relief, that tension to just, especially for those who aren't married and who are trying not to sleep around. It's like, well, what I do now, isn't it better that I look at porn than that I go out and sleep around? Well, in a way it is, because you're not emotionally tying someone else to your problems, I guess, in a way. But remember, porn is not a victimless crime. Porn is a major cause for sex trafficking. Porn is a major cause for people, having a lot of relationship issues and, very unhappy sexual encounters and that kind of stuff. It's not a victimless thing, so keep that in mind. If you're gonna do it, I guess that it's better to look at, like, for instance, cartoon porn over something to do with minors or something. That's probably a good idea. It's probably better to look at porn than to commit adultery, I would bet. I don't know if we're going to have a ranking system on this. It seems like that might be a little bit counterproductive, but moral of the story being, yeah, you're going to have times when you need to relieve tension, when you're just really super nervous about things. You don't really know how to deal with the problem. You're just stressed, you're tired, you want to feel better. But remember that looking at porn most usually doesn't help us feel better. And the way to go about this is try to learn how to masturbate without having to look at something. And you might say, how can you masturbate without looking at something? Here's the thing: if you need something in order to get off, then you really could have gone without masturbating in the first place. That makes sense, doesn't it? So yeah, I understand, you're hurt and you're tired. I get that. Here's the thing. Yes, absolutely get out. Go out and get active. Go for a walk. Go out and just sit outside and read a book. I don't know. Absolutely get out. Yes, absolutely get active. Make friends. Don't try and do your life alone. Get around people who you can, maybe different days, go do different things, where kind of have a schedule or something. And then if somebody cancels on that schedule, still make it where you go out and do that thing. Maybe you want to have like a zoo day or something where you go out to the zoo and just go walking. That'll wear you out. Don't milk your wound. If you've got something that you're dealing with, find a way to work through it. Maybe another thing you could do is take cold showers. It's kind of childish, but if it works, if it helps. Kind of a waste of water, but I guess, baby steps, right? If you start sleeping around to try and feel better, here's the thing: it's not going to work. It usually makes it worse. You're going to feel emotionally bound to this person, and you're just in it for a quick, relief. But the thing is when you have sex with someone, it's not. It's something that's very special and unique, and the only reason that it becomes unspecial or ununique in our brains is when we do it frequently. But if we're doing it frequently, that's just going to make us feel more miserable, and then we're going to feel empty, and we're going to try and compensate by having more sex. You see what I'm saying? And so that's not really the way to do it. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I think that if you're, especially if you're really tired and hurt and that kind of stuff, you should not drink. You should stay away from alcohol because it is a downer. It's going to make you feel worse, not better. Drugs. I mean, there's a lot of both prescription drugs and illegal drugs that they're going to have effects on your body. And rather than arguing about whether or not it's okay to do it, or whether it's a sin or not, instead of that, ask the question: is this really benefiting me, or is it making it worse? Sometimes what people do is they'll do something because they'll offer a temporary reprieve, but then on afterwards, when the high's gone or whatever, it'll just make them feel worse. So then they do it more to try and relieve the tension, and it just doesn't work. And it's the same thing, with drinking, with going out, sleeping around, looking at porn, drinking and drugging. It's the same kind of stuff. You're just gonna have to take all this into consideration. Don't lie to yourself here. The big thing here is that you learn to trust God through the struggle. Knowing that He doesn't expect perfection. God does not expect perfection. We do, but God doesn't. He doesn't want us to fall into the trap of high-handed sin, where we're just doing stuff that we know we shouldn't on purpose, and we're just like, I'm not going to change. But He's also patient with us when we're struggling with stuff, and I think that's incredibly important to remember. Christianity is not about perfection. It's about trusting and obeying. I've said this like 100 times, and there is just a lot of peace in not striving to prove yourself, not having to, prove what a great person you are, or prove any of that. So just not having to do any of that nonsense. There's just a lot of peace that comes with that. When you're doing something like trying to not look at porn because you're trying to justify your existence, trying to prove that you're worth something, then you're not really. Even if you're looking at porn because you just don't feel like you're worthy, these are things that you just have to kind of work through. There's a lot of peace when you realize that God accepted you just where you are. Yeah, He doesn't leave you there, and He keeps working in you, but that doesn't mean that He comes to a place of saying, you know what, I just don't love you. You've struggled too much, and this is just, I'm not going to put up with your bullcrap anymore. That's not God. Christianity is about trusting and obeying God in the middle of the struggle, and not understanding if there's going to be an end to this, or how to even move past the next day. But when you reach that place of trust and trust and obedience to Jesus, there's just this weight that's lifted, and realizing that you're not trying to prove yourself. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. But I will say this, and this is kind of like the finish to all of this, the finishing move to all of this. There is never a better time to deal with it than now. And that doesn't just go for porn, that goes for anything that you're dealing with, anything you're struggling with. There's no better time than now. Sometimes we think, oh, wait for more opportune time, wait for a better day, wait for this, wait for that. Just do it now. The longer you wait, the harder it gets, and then you don't know what tomorrow brings. Think about the people who didn't want to deal with their anxiety and different stuff like that pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and they weren't prepared because they hadn't been dealing with their anxiety. But it's kind of a lot like working out. Right? Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about the mistakes that you did. Take a healthy step today. Decide that someday is today. Well, I don't really feel like working. Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if tomorrow you won't be able to work out. It doesn't matter. Today, set aside 30 minutes and exercise. It's the exact same thing. Don't worry about whether you're going to make it tomorrow. Don't worry about if you don't feel prepared to start. Don't worry about what you did in the past. If you tried things in the past, don't worry about that kind of stuff. One more day of exercise is a good thing. And in the same way, one day of having a victory over pornography, regardless of what happened yesterday or what will happen tomorrow, is still one more victory. And the more victories you have, the easier they are to have, the funner they are to have. And it's a lot more relieving. It gives you a lot more freedom, more relief, more joy. So I hope that this series was helpful to you. The whole idea here is not stopping because you had a setback, not stopping because you had a failure, that kind of stuff. And I hope that you kind of see what I was talking about. And absolutely, absolutely, absolutely do what you can to try and deal with any pain that you are pushing back in your mind. It's something that it's not going to go away. You need to deal with it. And okay, bye.